and attorney and founder of Project Salam, which provides support and legal advocacy for Muslims. Lynne Jackson is talking to us from New York. Lynne, good to see you. So does your organization get involved with these kinds of cases as well? What did you think of that piece that you just saw?
Well, Project Salam is involved in various cases of what we call preemptive prosecution of Muslims, and that is the prosecution of Muslims prior to them committing any crime. I think the Fort Dix 5 case, which you just discussed, was very much a part of this type of prosecution where the government thinks, well, something might happen, but they have no proof, there's no evidence, and then they spend a great deal of money and a lot of time and effort to entrap innocent people.
Now, you have actually, I read that you've written letters to President Barack Obama and Attorney General Eric Holder. Did you get any responses?
Yes, we've written 6 very detailed letters signed by many hundreds of people. They're very detailed. They explain the different types of preemptive prosecution of Muslims. They explain the different types of cases, and asking that these cases be investigated. But no, we have not received a single response from either Mr. Obama or Mr. Holder.
You know, I interviewed Nora Lashia, the girl that you saw in the piece earlier today, and she talked about the fact that, you know, there's been decades of sort of questioning the loyalty of immigrants. And she says that Muslims in the United States are the new targets, even if they were born here, as she was. Have you seen that trend as well, that they sort of have to prove their loyalty?
Well, we certainly see the issue of the targeting of Muslims. There are, we believe, many hundreds of cases of Muslims who have been targeted simply because they're Muslim. There's no other reason. And this, of course, all happened after 9/11 because, of course, the terror attacks of 9/11. And the government is charged with trying to prevent another terrorist attack. However, if there are innocent people involved who've never done anything criminal, not involved in any kind of criminal activity, why does the government go after them and entrap them? This is part of what we think would be called the Cheney 1% doctrine, where Dick Cheney said if there is a 1% possibility that something bad might happen, you have to treat it as a certainty and take whatever to justify whatever actions are taken. For example, we have a case here in Albany, New York about Yassin Aref and Mohammed Hussein. And when they were sentenced, they were convicted, sentenced. And at the sentencing, one of the reporters asked the prosecutor, well, you know, was Yassin Aref a terrorist? And the prosecutor basically replied that they had no evidence of that, but they thought he might have the ideology. But the problem is nobody can read anybody's mind. You don't know what people are thinking. And there's no way the FBI can predict crimes like this. And there's no evidence that there is, I believe, no evidence that there's a vast amount of Muslims in this country looking to attack the United States.
And you know, it's interesting because some of the folks that you've talked about, and also those that you represent, and the ones that we saw in the piece, they sort of blamed the media. They said that the media just reports on these arrests and convictions, but doesn't really dig deeper into the issue or into the story.
Well, I think that is one of the problems. For example, the Newburgh 4 case, when the Newburgh 4 were arrested, it was this huge issue, you know, domestic terrorists, Afghanistan, all this kind of stuff. But yet, when you begin to pick apart the case and you really look at the case, you know, the FBI is supposed to be in there discovering terrorist cells, all that kind of stuff. It turns out the 4 men in the Newburgh 4 case didn't know each other before the FBI confidential informant got them all together. So how can the FBI be stopping terrorism when it was their own informant that basically created the crime?
And of course, that use of these informants, it is causing a lot of folks to sort of question the FBI's tactics when it comes to these arrests. Just very briefly, Lynne, just wanted to get your take on that. I know you mentioned it earlier, but wanted you to elaborate just a little bit more about the use of those informants.
Well, oftentimes the informants are paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for their work. They are often people, they are almost always people who have some kind of criminal problem. For example, the informant in the Newburgh 4 case we discovered had been arrested once or twice for a murder in Pakistan, right. Plus having problems with fraud here in New York. And so there are a lot of cases like this where the informant themselves have some kind of immigration or legal problem.
Absolutely. Lynne Jackson, attorney and founder of Project Salam, thanks so much for your time. We got to go for now, but I'm sure we'll have you on soon. Thanks, Lynne.